The movie begins in the year 2054 with Mickey. He wakes up in an icy trench on a planet called Niflheim. He's trapped at the bottom of the trench, and his communication device is broken. He sees a spaceship passing above the trench, and his friend Tommy descends from it using a rope. Tommy is surprised to find that Mickey is still alive. He takes Mickey's flamethrower and speaks to him mockingly, saying there was no need to come down and save him, because either way, they'll be cloning him again tomorrow on the spaceship. Before leaving, Tommy asks him sarcastically, "So, how does it feel to die for the 17th time?" Mickey doesn't respond, and Tommy climbs back up. After that, a huge worm-like creature appears, and Mickey hopes that this time, his death will be quick. The creature swallows him whole and gets closer to him. It's about to attack. Mickey tells himself that this must be the end. We're left unsure whether the creature actually kills him or not, but then Mickey starts narrating, explaining that they clone him every time he dies. We learn that there were ethical debates surrounding cloning, and it was eventually banned on Earth. Mickey is the only person still being cloned, but only in space. Every time he dies, a new version of him is created with all his previous memories intact. Mickey is essentially a lab rat for them. They send him outside the spaceship during their journey to Niflheim to test whether the environment is safe. Each time he dies, the cloning machine aboard the ship brings him back. Mickey then explains how he ended up on the spaceship. He and his friend Tommy had taken out a loan from a man named Blank to start a business together, but the venture failed. Blank's men caught them and brought them to him. Blank warned them that they had 4 weeks to pay the money back, and if they failed, he would kill them in the most brutal way. That's when they decided to escape Earth and join a space expedition to Niflheim. The mission was led by Marshall, a wealthy businessman and former congressman, who invested all his money into the project to colonize the distant planet. We see Mickey signing the consent form, clearly not reading the fine print, just agreeing to anything in order to get accepted. The clerk asks if he read the entire document, and he lies, saying he did. At that point, they become very interested in Mickey because he's the only one who agreed to be cloned. The officer takes him to the cloning device, where they scan his body in detail and record his memories onto a solid-state crystal to transfer to his future clones. She then tells him that from now on, he has to get used to the idea of dying, because every time he does, a new copy of him will be made. On his first day aboard the spaceship, Mickey is seen eating in the dining area. When Mr. Marshall arrives with his wife Olivia, everyone applauds. That's when Mickey notices Nasha. From the very first moment he sees her, he feels attracted to her. He approaches her and sits beside her to get to know her. Eventually, we find out they've entered into a secret relationship, despite Marshall's strict rule against crew members becoming romantically involved. The journey to Niflheim is set to last 4 years, and Mickey says that during that time, he was happy with Nasha, even though their relationship was a secret. She stood by his side every time he was cloned after dying. After 4 years, the spaceship finally arrives at the planet Niflheim. Marshall is incredibly excited. Naturally, the first person he sends out to breathe the planet's air is Mickey, to make sure it's not toxic. Unfortunately, Mickey dies, and he's cloned again so the scientists can study the virus. Indeed, it turns out that Mickey dies due to a virus in the atmosphere. The scientists clone him multiple times to test and study the virus, using different serums they developed to see how they affect the infection. Mickey becomes a literal lab rat. Every time he dies, they toss his body into the incinerator on board the ship, until finally, the 17th clone of Mickey survives. That's when they realize they've successfully created a working antidote. Afterward, Mickey joins a few members of the crew to explore the planet. They enter a trench to examine it. One crew member, named Kai, approaches a small opening and is startled when a small worm-like creature pops out. They quickly realize the trench is full of these creatures. They try shooting at them, but their bullets don't seem to do any damage. While retreating, one of the crew, Jennifer, is killed when ice collapses on top of her. Back on the spaceship, Marshall scolds Mickey, saying it should have been him who died instead of Jennifer, because he's the only one who can be cloned. As punishment, Marshall reduces his food rations and orders him to leave the ship and bring back one of the small creatures from the trench. We then see Mickey out on the icy terrain, with his friend Tommy piloting the ship nearby. Mickey accidentally falls into the trench, taking us back to the very first scene of the film, where the giant worm-like creature approaches him. But this time, there's a twist. Mickey realizes he's still alive. The creature grabs him by the leg and drags him deeper into the trench. Mickey assumes it's going to feed him to its offspring. But the small creatures don't eat him. They don't harm him at all. In fact, they help him out of the trench unharmed. Mickey does understand why they spared him, but it becomes clear that these creatures are peaceful, and they were the ones who saved him the first time, too. Now alone on the ice in a remote area, Mickey gets lucky when he spots a vehicle heading back to the ship. He chases it down and grabs onto the back. The vehicle takes him back to the spaceship, carrying a large rock from the planet for scientific study. Mickey gets off the vehicle and enters the ship, but no one seems to notice or care. Clearly, no one was expecting him to return. He heads back to his room, only to be shocked when he finds version number 18 of himself inside. It turns out the crew assumed Mickey was dead, so they cloned him again. This new one is Mickey 18. Mickey 18 tells him he shouldn't be alive, that staying alive after being declared dead violates the cloning protocol. He insists that both versions can't exist at the same time. Mickey 18 wants to kill him, believing he's the rightful, newest version. But Mickey 17 argues that maybe it should be the new clone who dies instead. He tries to escape, but Mickey 18 hits him with something, knocking him unconscious. We leave them there for a moment, as the film shifts to explain why cloning was banned on Earth in the first place. We then go back in time 4 years and learn about a cloning scientist named Alan. Alan had committed a series of crimes, but always had an alibi at the time of each one. The police went to his house and arrested 2 versions of him because Alan had created another clone of himself, and they couldn't figure out who was guilty and who wasn't. Then, another crime occurs, and they discover a 3rd version of Alan. This sparks a huge debate about the ethical consequences of cloning, which ultimately led to cloning being banned on Earth. However, Marshall managed to obtain permission to use cloning for a single person only on his mission to Niflheim, and he promised not to allow multiple versions to exist at the same time. We then return to Mickey 18, who has taken Mickey 17 to the incinerator aboard the spaceship, intending to kill him by throwing him in. Mickey 17 begs him not to do it, assuring him that they'll find a solution to this situation because, after all, they're the same person. But Mickey 18 is unconvinced, determined to push him into the incinerator. Just as this is about to happen, they hear someone entering the room. Mickey 18 drags Mickey 17 away and hides. They witness Tommy secretly selling contraband to a member of the ship's crew, making money on the side without anyone knowing. At this moment, Mickey 18 wants to take revenge on Tommy because it was his fault they took out the loan, which led to all of this. Mickey 18 confronts Tommy and attacks him, trying to push him into the incinerator. But Mickey 17 intervenes to stop him. Tommy is on the verge of falling into the incinerator, and Mickey 17 and 18 end up fighting each other. Mickey 18 manages to overpower Mickey 17 and grabs a hot metal rod, threatening to drop it on Tommy. But just then, Nasha and some of the crew members enter, forcing Mickey 18 to pull Tommy out and warn him not to speak about what happened, or else he'll expose Tommy's secret dealing. Nasha takes Mickey 18 with her to return him to his room, while Mickey 17 hides and watches them together, feeling a surge of jealousy. As Mickey 17 follows them, Marshall's assistant appears and tells him he's been looking for him because Mr. Marshall and his wife Olivia have invited him to dinner in his honor. The assistant takes him to join Marshall and Olivia. At dinner, Mickey 17 devours the meat greedily, having not eaten meat for a long time. Kai, the worker, is also invited and sits next to Mickey. Marshall tells her that he wants to use her genetic material to reproduce on the new planet, as he believes she's the ideal candidate. Kai agrees, but requests to say a prayer for her friend Jennifer, who died when ice fell on her. Marshall and Olivia pretend to be moved and say the prayer with her. At that moment, Mickey 17 feels pain from the meat he ate. The scientists reveal that the meat contained growth hormones, which they had been testing on him, and it appears the experiment failed. Mickey 17 continues to suffer, and they try a new painkiller that Rauch invented. However, it doesn't work, and Mickey screams in excruciating pain, unable to bear it. Marshall, desperate to end his suffering, grabs a gun and intends to end Mickey's life. But Olivia screams at him, telling him he'll ruin her expensive rug. She quickly moves the rug from under Mickey to prevent it from getting dirty. Just before Marshall pulls the trigger, Mickey stops him, saying he's okay now. He pretends to be fine, even though it's clear he's still in immense pain, as if he's being torn apart from the inside. Afterward, Kai takes Mickey to her bedroom and prepares a soothing drink for him. She sits beside him and talks to him, asking about the feeling of death since he's died 17 times before. Mickey tells her that it's a horrible feeling and he doesn't want to experience it again. There's an attraction between them, and Kai gets closer to kiss him. However, Mickey stands up, leaves her, and returns to his room. There, he finds Nasha with Mickey 18. When Nasha sees them together, she seems pleased with the situation, and her thoughts go in an inappropriate direction. She gets excited and wants them to keep this a secret. But Mickey 17 feels uncomfortable with the situation and doesn't think it's natural. At this point, Kai enters the room and sees the two versions of Mickey with Nasha. She leaves the room, and Nasha follows her before she can tell anyone, stopping her and offering to let her take one of them if she wants. Back in Mickey's bedroom, Mickey 18 tells Mickey 17 that Marshall had been experimenting on him with the meat, causing him to suffer, and he was almost killed. Mickey 18 wants to take revenge on Marshall and kill him. He grabs a gun and leaves, with Mickey 17 and Nasha following him, hoping to stop him before he does something drastic. Meanwhile, Marshall is giving a presentation in front of the ship's crew, celebrating the rock they brought from the planet. He tells them they are witnessing the beginning of a new era. In the midst of this, Mickey 18 gets excited and raises the gun to point it at Marshall. But just then, one of the crew members points at the rock because a small creature is emerging from it. A state of panic ensues, and everyone wants to run. Marshall orders them to quickly catch and control the creature. Mickey 17 tries to help them capture it, and they manage to catch it. At that moment, Mickey 18 aims the gun at Marshall to kill him. However, Nasha intervenes from behind and grabs his arm, and the bullet misses Marshall, hitting the rock behind him. Marshall is stunned when he discovers there are two versions of Mickey. They arrest both of them, and Marshall approaches the rock to examine the bullet hole. Suddenly, another creature emerges from the rock and attacks his face. Marshall throws it off him and orders his crew to open fire. They shoot the creature with a large amount of ammunition, successfully killing it. Thus, they've killed one of the small creatures and captured another. Marshall orders that Mickey 17 and 18 be locked up in the prison. While they're in the cells, Mickey 17 talks to them, telling them that the mother of the small creatures on the planet didn't kill him. She saved his life and pulled him out of the icy trench, meaning the creatures are peaceful and intelligent. During their conversation, Tommy appears with a colleague, carrying a video camera. Tommy tells Mickey 17 that he wants to film a short video to send to Mr. Blank on Earth. He explains that Mr. Blank had sent him a message ordering him to kill Mickey and cut him into 13 pieces because he hasn't repaid the loan. This is because customs on Earth deduct half the money sent from space, and Tommy believes Mr. Blank won't let them get away with it. He's certain Blank will find a way to send someone to Niflheim to deal with them. For this reason, Tommy brought a chainsaw with him and turns it on, telling Mickey 17 that he has to do this to stay alive. He makes his colleague shock Mickey with the taser, but at that moment, Mickey 18 offers to let Tommy kill him instead since Mickey 17 is too scared. Tommy agrees. Mickey 18 asks him to give him a dose of the contraband as a final request. Tommy agrees and approaches the cell to give it to him. Just then, they grab Tommy from inside the cell. Nasha manages to take the taser from Tommy and uses it to shock his colleague. She grabs the keys from Tommy, opens the cell, and quickly escapes. At that moment, the ship's crew supervisor arrives and takes them all to the command room. On the way there, he informs them that the small creatures and their mother are surrounding the ship. In the command room, we see Olivia cutting the tail of the small creature to make a sauce, and Marshall is holding a hot iron piece, marking Mickey 18's face to distinguish him from Mickey 17. As punishment, he decides to destroy the hard stone where their memories are stored and erase them. This means that any new copy of Mickey will be created without memories. Marshall then wants to find a solution to the small creatures surrounding the ship. One of the scientists, named Dursey, says that she invented a translation device which they could use to communicate with the native creatures of the planet because they are obviously intelligent. Marshall mocks her, considering the creatures magical beings, and is surprised when one of the small creatures spits on him. In response to this insult, Marshall grabs the creature, ties it with a rope above the grill, and orders Nasha to hold the rope with her teeth as her hands are tied. Nasha is forced to hold the rope with her teeth to prevent the small creature from falling into the grill. Marshall's assistant then suggests spraying a lethal gas on the creatures, but Olivia, his wife, says that before doing that, he must fulfill a simple request. She asks him to send Mickey 17 and 18 outside the ship to cut as many tails off the small creatures as possible and bring them back so she can make more sauce. Despite this strange request, Marshall obeys his wife. He puts explosive vests on Mickey 17 and 18, warning them that if they don't follow his orders outside the ship, he will press the button and blow them up. The two of them leave the ship, and before they depart, Dursey gives them the translation device to try using it in case they can communicate with the native creatures of the planet. They walk through the small creatures and eventually reach their mother. Mickey 17 speaks to her using the translation device, and he is surprised when she responds and understands him. He tries to explain to her that they need to move away from the ship, or else they will spray deadly gas on them. However, she asks why they killed one of her two children that were on the ship, even though she had saved him before from the trench, and she knows that her second child is still alive inside the ship. She threatens that if they kill him, she will wipe them all out. Mickey 17 asks her how she plans to do that, and the mother of the creatures orders her children to scream loudly. She explains that their scream can explode their bodies if it continues. When Mickey 17 realizes the danger of the situation, he runs toward the ship and signals them not to kill the second creature with him. They understand his signal from the command room. However, Marshall's assistant and his wife Olivia tell him that he must go out and negotiate with the mother of the creatures himself and give a historic speech before they eliminate her with weapons. Since Marshall is arrogant, he believes them and orders the preparation of the vehicles so that he can leave the ship. We return to the mother of the creatures, who tells Mickey that just as she lost one of her children, one of them must die, and they must also return her second child from the ship. After that, she will leave them in peace. At this moment, Marshall leaves in his vehicle and heads toward the mother of the creatures, intending to film himself giving a historic speech in front of her before killing her with a weapon. We move to the ship's command room, where Nasha attacks Olivia, putting her head between her legs and threatening to break her neck if they don't listen to her. They untie the rope she had been holding with her teeth, and Nasha takes the small creature with her as she leaves the ship to return it to its mother quickly. We return to Marshall, who is trying to get closer to the mother of the creatures to kill her, but at that moment, her children gather around her, covering her. Marshall can't pinpoint her exact location to fire at her. At this point, Mickey 18 decides to sacrifice himself, running toward Marshall's vehicle, attacking him, and engaging in a struggle. Meanwhile, Nasha reaches Mickey 17, and they return the small creature to its mother, who reassures them. They hear Mickey 18 calling to the mother of the creatures to see him. Then he presses the button and detonates the explosive vest he's wearing, killing himself along with Marshall, sacrificing himself for the cause. When the mother of the creatures sees this, she orders her children to calm down and stop moving. 6 months pass, and we see her giving a speech before a gathering of the ship's crew, with Mickey sitting among them. We learn that Nasha has become the captain of the ship, and they give Mickey the control device to detonate the cloning device when he presses the button. We also learn that after Marshall's death, the guilty parties on the ship were tried, and Nasha was elected as the new captain. Afterward, Mickey went to the trench to meet with the mother of the creatures and communicated with her using the translation device. She allowed them to conduct their research and cooperated with them, in exchange for living peacefully on the planet without harm. We return to Mickey as he holds the detonation device and presses the button, destroying the cloning device. The entire crew applauds him, as cloning is a great evil and must never happen again. The film ends, and we'll see you in the next recap. If you love movies and movie recaps, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.